Welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're diving into a book, one that makes a pretty bold claim. It's about getting massive results, like really fast.
Yeah, the source is 88 Days to Any Goal by Dr. Rollan Roberts.
Exactly. And our mission, for this deep dive, we want to unpack this core concept he calls the 88-day promise.
Understand why he thinks it's so powerful.
Right, and figure out how you, the listener, might actually, put it into action. We've pulled out some really interesting bits, including this political campaign story that's honestly pretty wild.
It really is. And the author, he frames this 88-day promise as like the critical key, the engine, basically, for accelerated success on one big goal.
Okay, let's start right there then. What exactly is this 88-day promise? Can you break it down for us?
Sure. Essentially, it's committing completely, like
Mm.
all in, full out, just relentless pursuit of one specific goal.
For how long again?
For about 12 weeks. That's where the 88 days comes from.
Hmm.
And he describes it as, working 7 days a week, morning till night if you have to. It's a total blitz.
Wow. 7 days a week.
Yeah. And within that time, one day is specifically for planning, and then the very last day is for review, figuring out what's next.
And there's a core idea behind this, right? This really intense approach.
Absolutely. The main principle driving the whole thing is simple, almost brutally simple. Success like speed.
Success like speed.
Yeah, he's not just saying, oh, moving fast is good. He's arguing that this intense, short burst of focus, it doesn't just get results faster.
Okay.
It gets significantly greater results than if you took the same effort and just, spread it out slowly over years.
Huh. Okay, that's a powerful idea. Speed generating more, not just being efficient. Does he back this up, like with examples?
Oh, definitely. The book's packed with them. Some are pretty common. Others are very personal.
Like what?
Well, you see echoes of it in things like, say, military boot camp,
Right.
Or those 90-day fitness challenges everyone talks about.
Right, yeah. Compressing the effort.
Exactly. They do it for a reason. But then he shares his own stories, too.
What kind of things?
Well, he talks about being just 19 back in 1998. Used an 88-day promise, apparently, to build a real estate empire.
At 19.
Yeah. And around the same time, applied it to direct sales. He says he personally sponsored like 72 people in his first year.
Okay.
Then, fast forward to 2004, another 88-day promise helps him land this senior executive job, responsible for almost 1,500 employees. Multi-billion-dollar company.
Wow.
Then 2006, he tackles a health goal. Starts with an 88-day promise towards losing 75 pounds, which he did over the next 18 months.
Okay, so the sprint kicked it off.
Right.
Yeah.
And then 2010, another one, at a direct sales company this time. It resulted in their first growth month in 15 years, and he ended up becoming president.
So these are definitely significant achievements across different areas, business, health. But you mentioned a political story, one he calls his most profound example.
Yes, that's the one. His race for a state Senate seat in Montana. He presents it as like the ultimate test of this 88-day promise idea.
Okay, let's unpack that. What was the situation? What was he walking into?
So he decides to run in February 2012, the elections in early June.
Ah, so right around that 88-day time frame again.
Exactly. And according to his account, the deck was just completely stacked against him. Total outsider.
No political background?
None. No prior experience, no network to speak of, no big funds. And his opponent, the incumbent,
Yeah.
long-serving, really powerful, well-connected, a fourth-generation Montanan, second in command in the Senate,
Yeah.
and, according to the author, known for being a bully, someone who made challengers pay.
Ooh.
Yeah. And this guy had apparently never even faced a primary opponent before. Ever.
So starting from absolute zero against a political Goliath, what kind of stuff did he run into during those, intense 88 days?
He describes it as just relentless, a constant onslaught. Based on his account in the book, he's dealing with betrayal, scandals, people trying to bribe him, apparently.
Seriously?
Yeah, secret polls run against him, constant personal attacks, mudslinging. He says his odds were slim to none right from the start. And there were moments he felt like even Slim walked out the door.
Wow.
And then, to top it all off, the very last day to file, 15 minutes before the deadline, a third candidate jumps in.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He felt that just completely torpedoed any chance he had. Split the vote, made the impossible seem like complete insanity, as he put it.
Okay, given all that, those almost impossible odds, how did he keep going for 88 days? What kept him driving forward?
Yeah, and this is where the belief part becomes really critical for him.
Belief.
Yeah. He says, despite all the math, all the data screaming you can't win, he just decided he could. He leaned on this quote from a mentor: "If the dream is big enough, the facts don't count."
Huh. The facts don't count.
Right. He kind of reflects that if he'd known up front that belief was literally all he had, he might not have even started. But once he was in that sprint, he realized, well, belief was ultimately all he needed.
Belief fueling the intensity. Okay. So what was his actual strategy during this, like, compressed, all-out sprint?
He basically treated it like launching a business.
Okay.
Developed a really detailed plan, had a ground game, volunteers making calls, knocking on doors, handing out materials.
Standard campaign stuff.
Right. But also, his media strategy was interesting. He decided to be totally transparent up front about anything he thought could be seen as a flaw.
Get ahead of it.
Exactly. Release potential negative stuff himself to kind of diffuse gossip. And critically, he made a stand on how he'd deal with his opponent.
How so?
No personal attacks. Zero. Only focus on the incumbent's voting record and how, in his view, it didn't line up with what the district wanted.
Interesting. Focus on policy, not personality.
Yeah. His goal was to win people over to his vision, not just rally opposition against the other guy. He wanted to win the hearts and minds. Yeah. Plus, online and offline marketing. And importantly, he sought help. He got counsel from experienced national political advisors. He knew it was David versus Goliath, right? Needed expert guidance.
So election day comes. What happened? What was the outcome?
Well, initially, he lost by 111 votes.
Okay, close.
Yeah. But then the next day, there was some review. Some mysterious missing votes were found, apparently. And the final margin narrowed. A loss by just 64 votes.
Wow. 64.
Yeah, he calculates that just 33 more votes flipping his way would have meant victory.
So he lost the seat itself. How did he, frame that result in the context of this 88-day promise?
He calls it a victorious defeat.
Victorious defeat. How does that work?
Well, he explains it like this. Okay, he didn't win the Senate seat, but his opponent lost a significant amount of power within the Senate afterwards, including, apparently, his path to becoming the Senate president.
Okay.
So the author felt he'd successfully challenged the most powerful legislator in the state. He also says his own influence grew a lot across Montana because of the race, opened up a lot of doors for him. And he also felt it let people see how a leader handles defeat, showing that losing the race didn't make him a loser. So from his perspective,
Yeah.
the way he lost actually ended up benefiting him more than straight Finn might have. It was all about the intensity of that fight, those 88 days, regardless of the final tally.
That's a fascinating take. That the process, the fight itself, can yield a kind of victory even if the specific goal isn't quite met as expected.
Exactly. It really highlights how that intensity shapes outcomes, sometimes in ways you don't expect. The commitment is the key thing.
Okay, so let's dig a bit deeper into the why. We talked about success like speed, getting results faster and bigger. What other reasons does the author give for why this intense 88-day sprint is so effective?
Right. So circling back to that core idea, success like speed, he really hammers this home. Compressing activity creates, exponential results.
Exponential.
Yeah. He gives this really vivid comparison. Imagine making 100 phone calls a day for 88 days straight.
Okay, that's a lot of calls.
It is. Now compare that to making the exact same total number of calls, 8,800, but spreading them out over a whole year.
Right. Much slower pace.
Exactly. He argues the impact, the actual results you get from that concentrated 88-day burst, they're exponentially greater, massively different.
And that applies broadly.
He says so. Whether you're in real estate, direct sales, and athlete training and entrepreneur launching, that focused intensity just magnifies the results.
Okay, speed and magnitude. What else is going on?
Well, there's momentum.
Yeah.
And energy and belief.
How does that work?
When you're truly all in on an 88-day promise, you apparently just radiate this palpable energy. People feel it.
Like potential clients or partners?
Yeah, clients, partners, supporters, whoever. They can sense that commitment, that fire in your eyes. That visible momentum is magnetic. It makes people more likely to say yes to you.
And it probably feeds back into yourself too, right?
Absolutely. Seeing that visible progress, feeling that momentum, it deeply fuels your own personal belief, your own drive. It keeps the fire going.
It sounds like it fundamentally changes you as well, internally.
It does. That's a big part of it. 88 days, he argues, is enough time for new high-impact behaviors to really solidify, to become habits.
Habits, okay.
Yeah, he talks about the stages of competence. You're moving from unconscious incompetence, where you don't even know what you're doing wrong,
Right.
all the way to unconscious competence, where you're doing the right things, the successful things, automatically. without even thinking about it.
Like muscle memory.
Kinda, yeah.
Mm.
And an 88-day blitz, because it forces such intense repetition of the correct actions, can apparently speed up that whole habit formation process way faster than taking it slow.
So the short time frame, it also forces you to be clear. Ruthless, maybe.
Yes. That's actually one of the most powerful aspects, I think. When you've only got 88 days, you have to get efficient, like ruthlessly efficient.
No time for fluff.
Exactly. There's no time for what he calls the trivial many.
Yeah.
You know, all those hundreds of things that seem good, maybe useful, but aren't absolutely essential.
Right.
The compressed timeline forces you, like immediately, to identify the critical few.
The critical few.
Yeah, maybe just 2 or 3 absolutely essential behaviors that actually drive success for your specific goal.
Success comes from doing those things intensely, like his
Yeah.
focus on the voting record in the campaign.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But it sounds, well, incredibly demanding, like a constant uphill climb.
Oh, it is. He absolutely does not sugarcoat it. He calls it a grind.
The grind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's exhausting. It's demanding. But he argues, craving that intensity, leaning into it, that's what helps you push through all the inevitable crap.
Yeah.
Fear, rejection, hurt, pain, betrayal, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about facing whatever your Goliath is, internal or external, head on.
Adversity, while it sucks, often brings clarity. It becomes fuel. Even if you don't understand why it's happening, your emotion's going to be all over the place, but the core thing is just refusing to quit,
Keep going no matter what.
pretty much.
Hmm.
As he puts it, champions are made when the stands are empty. That intensity builds resilience. It forges you.
You mentioned back with the political story, he got advice from national advisors. Does the book say you should try and do this all alone?
No, not at all. Actually, the opposite. He
Mhm.
really emphasizes that coaches, mentors, advisors, they're essential.
Why?
Because when you're deep in the tunnel of that intense sprint, you can lose perspective, right? They can offer that outside view.
Yeah, makes sense.
He uses that campaign example again. He had 3, like, top-tier national advisors, all super competent, giving him completely contradictory advice on a critical issue.
Oh, wow. What do you do then?
Well, that's the key insight.
Right.
You must seek out and value that advice.
Yeah.
But you, the person doing the sprint, you ultimately own your results. You have to make the final call,
Even if the advice conflicts.
especially then. And this applies everywhere, business, fitness, whatever goal you pick. You have to make the tough decision. And it probably won't make everyone happy. You have to, as he says, own it in your heart.
Okay, so the 88-day sprint is intense, powerful, but obviously you can't keep that level of intensity up forever, right? So what does he suggest for, like, the long haul? How do you integrate this?
Right, good question. He lays out something called the annual 88-day promise formula. It's basically a structure for cycling these intense periods throughout the year.
An annual formula. Okay,
Yeah.
how does that cycle look?
The way he suggests structuring it is, first quarter of the year, you do an 88-day promise sprint.
Okay, Q1 is sprint time.
Right. Then the second quarter is what he calls a post-88-day promise period. The focus there is refresh, regroup, and recharge.
Taking a breather, basically.
Sort of, but strategically. Then third quarter, another 88-day promise sprint.
Back into the intensity.
Exactly. And then the fourth quarter is another post-promise period. Refresh, regroup, recharge again. So 2 sprints, 2 recovery periods per year.
Got it. Can you give us a bit more detail on the phases within the actual 88-day sprint itself? What happens week to week?
Sure. The book breaks it down roughly like this. Week 1 is all about absolute clarity.
Clarity first.
Yeah. Identify that single clear goal. Figure out the daily habits, the schedule changes you need. Pinpoint those, top 2 or 3 critical behaviors. And then implement immediately. No waiting around.
Day 1, go.
Pretty much. Week 2 is about implementing those changes consistently and using this formula. Plan, do, review, and adjust.
Plan, do, review, adjust.
Map out your critical actions.
Right.
Plan, do them intensely, do.
Yeah.
Look at your progress or challenges, review, and then tweak your approach based on what you learned. Adjust. Oh, and also develop some kind of tangible action or phrase for when you feel like quitting, like a lifeline.
Smart. What about week 3?
Week 3 is about upping the intensity. Fill any gaps in your schedule with supportive stuff. Double check you're still laser focused on those critical few things.
And then the bulk of it. Weeks 4 to 12.
That's full intensity, the heart of the grind, really. You're constantly checking your attitude, making sure there are 0 schedule gaps, ruthlessly cutting out distractions.
Laser focus.
Totally. Confirming again and again you're on the critical few. And constantly cycling through that Plan, dough, review, adjust loop.
Okay. And that post-promise period, the refresh, regroup, recharge part. Why is taking that time off or throttling back so important after going that hard?
He frames it as highly strategic. You need that time. One, to solidify the gains you actually made during the sprint, and two, to build up stamina for the next sprint.
Right, you can't just jump straight back in.
Exactly. You're not completely checking out, but you are deliberately, pulling back on the throttle.
Yeah.
And he breaks down that post-promise time too.
How are those phases structured within that quarter?
Well, he suggests about 3 weeks for the really focused recovery part, although the annual cycle spreads the recharge bit out longer.
Okay, 3 weeks recovery.
Yeah. Week 1 is refresh, both mental and physical. Mentally, maybe you take a vacation or just deliberately focus on something totally different. Physically, it's all about healthy food, exercise, tons of sleep. You stay connected to the project only lightly if you absolutely have to.
Disconnect to recharge.
Right. Then week 2 is regroup. This is where you assess the whole 88-day experience. Document everything, successes, challenges, thoughts, feelings, maybe in a journal. Figure out what the reinvented you looks like now after the sprint. And plan how you're going to maintain those results, make adjustments over the next 10 weeks or so, or maybe how you'll prep for the next sprint.
So, reflection and planning.
Exactly. And if it was a business sprint, this is where you focus on supporting the team or the structure you built.
Makes sense. And the rest of the quarter.
The remaining weeks leading up to the next potential sprint, that's the recharge phase. Mentally, it's about intentional growth. Read books, study, learn something new. Physically, rebuild your strength, recalibrate sleep. Emotionally, just prepare yourself for the demands of the next sprint. And he also notes, interestingly, that the full impact of your sprint, it might actually take months, maybe even years, to fully germinate and show itself.
Oh, really? Not instant gratification always.
No. And you should apparently expect things to potentially backfire sometimes. Setbacks happen. But he argues the intensity is still worth it. It's about learning to turn those lemons into lemonade.
Okay, so we've talked about the sprint, the recovery, the cycle. But here's where I think it gets really interesting. What's the ultimate, deeper impact of doing this, beyond just hitting the specific goal you set out for?
Yeah, this is crucial. The author argues pretty strongly that the most profound outcome isn't really getting the goal itself. It's about the person you become through that intense process.
The transformation of self.
Exactly. Committing at that level, pushing through that kind of intensity, it can apparently trigger a sort of awakening. It can literally change your core life choices, your preferences, what you value.
Oh.
He talks about it as becoming who you were truly meant to be. And this transformation isn't just in the one area you focused on. It could ripple out, impacting everything: your body, your energy, your finances, career, relationships, even just the way you think.
Wow. That sounds significant. It sounds like it requires a really deep level of conviction right from the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. He calls it a decision of the heart. And it's not a one-time decision. It's one you have to make over and over again every single day of the 88, especially when things get tough.
Facing that adversity we talked about.
Right. You need that conviction from day one. And he's very clear. This whole process, it's incredibly demanding. It is not for everyone.
Who is it for then?
It's for people who desperately want change, who are willing to do, quote, whatever it takes for that focused period of time. At the end of the day, he says, it's about exercising the boldness, the greatness he believes is already inside you. And maybe in doing that, you inspire other people who haven't quite said yes to their own potential yet.
Wow. Okay. So, wrapping this deep dive up, 88 days to any goal really presents this potent framework, doesn't it? Pick one worthwhile goal. Commit to intense, all-out action. Focus relentlessly on those critical few behaviors for about 12 weeks.
Driven by unwavering belief.
Right, fueled by overcoming whatever challenges pop up. And the author suggests that the payoff isn't just, rapid results or building habits faster.
But a fundamental personal transformation, becoming more of who you could be.
Right. It's really about recognizing that sometimes, maybe often, breakthrough change comes from that kind of compressed, intense effort. And the process itself is as important, maybe more important, than the specific end result.
Well said. It's a powerful concept.
So thinking about all this, based on our deep dive into this source, maybe ask yourself, what area of your life could potentially benefit from an 88-day promise commitment? What challenge are you really ready to tackle with that kind of intense focus, maybe starting right now?